From the studios of Foxboro Cable Access, located in the center of Foxborough, Massachusetts, you are watching Around Foxborough.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Around Foxborough. My name is Julie Love. I'm your host. Today we have very special guest who represent Asian community and especially the domestic violence victims. We have Christina Ayala today with us from ATASK. Hi Christina.
Hi Julie, thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So Christina, can you please tell our audience who you are and then what you do?
Sure. So my name is Christina, and I am the co-executive director at a nonprofit organization called Asian Task Force Against Domestic Violence. So we're commonly known as ATASK, and our services are specifically for domestic violence survivors from the Asian community. We're able to provide services in 20 Asian languages, and we are a statewide organization. We're based in Boston and in Lowell, but our services are available all throughout Massachusetts.
Well, thank you for that. So, Christina, how long have you been serving as co-executive director for ATASK?
Oh, as co-executive director, I've been there since 2015, but actually started at ATASK back in 2005. So I've been there 15, 16 years at this point. And I started at ATASK actually at the emergency shelter. And from the emergency shelter, I launched a transitional housing program and then was tapped into this role.
So, how long has ATASK been serving our community total before you came on?
So we were founded almost 30 years ago in 1992. And we were founded by Reverend Cheng M. Tan, who at that time was working at another domestic violence agency and really noticed that there were not very many, if at all, Asian survivors coming forward. And she quickly put two and two together that if you don't have somebody who speaks the language, the victims are not going to pick up the phone and reach out for help. And so she put a task force of other community members together, and Asian Task Force was born.
Well, great. So what are the languages that you serve that you said you have multiple Asian languages?
Sure. Our primary populations are the Chinese population, Vietnamese, South Asian, and Cambodian populations. So just even within those ethnicities, we have Mandarin, Cantonese, Taiwanese, obviously Vietnamese, and we have multiple South Asian languages as well, like Hindi and Nepali and Bengali. And we also have other languages like Filipino and Korean and Thai and Lao.
So, as you have been serving for ATASK, what kind of calls or help do you typically get from your clients?
Sure. A lot of times, especially in the Asian community, there is hesitation or reluctance to, really come forward and let people know about what is going on inside your home. And so oftentimes it is when they see a medical provider, a physician, or if somebody in the school is calling and possibly reporting a concern to the Department of Children and Families. It's usually in sort of those situations that callers or potential clients end up reaching out for help, right? They're maybe at a doctor's office and the doctor is saying, I'm a little bit concerned about what's happening to you. And there's an organization called ATASK that might be able to help you. And so a lot of times when they call us, they don't even know that they're in a domestic violence situation, right? And so they're calling us saying, well, my doctor told me to call you, right? Or, the DCF is saying that I have to call you. And so in the beginning, there's a lot of information that we're providing them. And, it's Oftentimes they're not calling and saying, I need help right now, or I need to leave my home right now. There's a lot of sort of relationship building and conversation that happens before they get to that point where they're ready to sort of take the next step.
Yes, and then as Asian woman myself, I completely understand why these agencies had to call and advocate for themselves instead of them calling you for help. Do you have any idea why? And maybe audience can understand why, especially Asian women, have difficulty of advocating
Mhm.
for themselves.
Sure. In a lot of the Asian cultures, you put your family and your community before you, right? And so you don't want to bring shame um, to your family by letting people know that there's something going on inside your home. And a lot of times, the message from the parents and other people in the family is, you just need to stick it out, right? Or sometimes there's a little bit of victim blaming as well. Like, what are you doing that is causing your spouse or um, your husband, your boyfriend to lash out at you.
Yes, I really can relate to that kind of situation as a survivor myself. And then being Asian woman that we are taught to, especially in Japan, there's a word called gamang, which means
Hmm.
patient, like stick it out and then just swallow the situation.
Yeah.
So of helping all these Asian women through a task work,
Hmm.
do you feel as a co-executive founder, but prior to that, you're working for the ATASK? What do you feel your reward as co-executive director or maybe staff, ATASK mission? What's most fulfilling for you in your work?
Oh, just knowing that you're able to change somebody's life for the better, right? A lot of people that I meet will always ask me, like, isn't it so depressing to work in that line? Um, and, isn't it just so stressful? And it is hard work. I don't think anybody in this field will tell you otherwise, but it's incredibly fulfilling because, our clients come to us at rock bottom, and there's only one way to go, and that's up, right? And there have been so many times where years and years later, I'll I'll hear from a former client, and they'll tell me how they're doing. They'll tell me that, for example, I actually just got a call from a former client, and her son, who was 8 years old when he entered the shelter, is now at college. Right, he was accepted into university, um, and that was just such an exciting moment, for the family, and such a success for them. And they're a lot of times they call and they just are sharing their appreciation for believing in them and trusting them at that time. And they often talk about how they could not have done it without ATASK.
That's very, very rewarding and important work, especially changing the lives for the long term effect, not just the momentum of their emergency situation, but you are changing lives in a safe place that otherwise that they would have
Yeah.
suffered.
Yeah, and one of the things that's important to sort of recognize is a lot of people come to ATAS because of the domestic violence situation, but we offer so many more services than just the restraining order or maybe that court case, right? We're helping them with housing, we're helping them improve their English skills. We actually offer ESOL classes as well so that they can get better jobs. We're helping in all the different aspects of their life because they come to us really vulnerable, having been isolated, and they need to be connected to everything from health services to mental health. Um, you know, a lot of sort of income stabilization work happens, helping them apply for public benefits that they're eligible for, because they do need that support at the beginning when they're really just starting out. They might be um, needing what they call food stamps, right, to be able to put food on the table for their family. They might need childcare vouchers so that they can go to school, so that they can go to work. There's just so many different things that need to happen in order for them to really be able to take the next steps and become independent.
Yes, those tools are very important. So you sent us a video to
Mhm.
talk about a task to show who you are. So let's watch the first video. Well, thank you for sharing the video about a task. Now, what is your website and the social media that people can learn more about your organization?
Sure. Our website is ATASK, ATASK.org. And we are also on Facebook and on Instagram.
And do you have any hotline that people can call in?
Yes, our hotline is 617-338-2355. And that is, there's always somebody there to answer your phone call 24/7. And we also have an email that you can email into, and it's info at atask.org.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the information. So, of speaking of your clients' testimonials
Mhm.
that you shared a little bit, but how hard do you think is it for people who do not speak fluent English, and especially they came for marriage to this country, then they got into this domestic violence situation?
Mhm.
Of learning these victims difficulty of language barrier in vulnerable situation, what are the voices do you hear concerns like in their languages that
Mhm.
you provide?
Sure. What we hear a lot is that they were socially isolated, right? They come to the US, many of them just really expecting a new life um, and and just sort of all the hopes that a marriage would bring, right? And children and whatnot. And when things start to sour and go bad, a lot of them don't really know what happened or what's going on because it comes gradually, right? They in the beginning things are great, and then there might be a push and a slap or a shove, or some yelling and some insults being thrown at them, but then it's a cycle, right? And so then um, there are apologies, and then their abuser is treating them well again. And so they decide, okay, well, I can do this. I can stick this out a little longer. And then it just kind of escalates and get worse and worse. Um, and so a lot of times they are not allowed to see other members of their community. So they have no one to reach out to for help. Um, and a lot of times they're also financially dependent on their abuser. When they come to the US, they may not necessarily have work authorization yet, right? They may not have their green card. And so they're dependent on their abuser, either for money and day to day living, or to file the paperwork so that they can have status here. And so they're often threatened by their abuser and are told, if you call the police, if you tell anybody, if you report me, I'm not going to file your paperwork, right? And you'll get deported. And so there's a lot of that control that happens. And so, if you don't have family in the US, if you don't have money, you don't have any other place to live, you have very few options. And so that's often why they end up staying in their home.
It's really, really scary situation. And, you know, with the police and, law enforcement help, I know it's there. But then a task is more there for a victim because you have so many languages that they can feel at home and then be able to advocate for themselves in their languages. And I think it's very important.
Yeah. I
So now,
mean,
go ahead.
sorry, we hear a lot that we have clients that are afraid to call 911, right? In their countries of origin, they fear law enforcement because of maybe the political climate that is happening in their country. They're also afraid to call 911 because they don't speak English and they don't know how to explain what's going to happen or what has been happening. They're afraid that their situation will be misunderstood, and it might end up being that they're the ones that get in trouble, get arrested instead of their abuser. So law enforcement is not an automatic solution for many of our clients.
Yes, I can completely see, especially from the country that has the political challenges, that they
Mhm.
don't have necessary trust or rapport with the police that they feel safe to call. So that they would apply that kind of bias in America, and completely understood. Now, what kind of support do you get in terms of grant or fundraiser that you do to
Mhm.
support your work? And how can people who are watching this
Mhm.
help a task if they want to?
Sure. So we get a lot of government funding that we apply for. So we are a private agency, a private nonprofit, but we do apply for grants that are available through the government. So Department of Public Health is one of our big funders. The Department of Justice, Office on Violence Against Women is another one. So we do have multiple grants that come in. We also have private foundations that support us. United Way is one of the ones that are, very well known um, in the community, and um, we have other private foundations that always help us. Eastern Bank, um, and Anna B. Stearns, the Cummings Foundation, and for private individuals who do want to help us, donations are very, very much appreciated. So you can go to our website, which is atask.org, and you will see a donate button on there. We also have fundraisers throughout the year. The biggest one is the annual gala, which we have in the fall. And used to be in person. This year and last year, it's going to be virtual, and that's something that even after the event is something that you can watch because it will be posted on our website.
So again, we are having a conversation with Christina Ayala, who is a co-executive director at the ATASK Asian Task Force in Boston in Lowell. But their services are available online as well, and they have a hotline. Now, we were talking about the fundraiser and grant writing. What are the funding used to help these
Mhm.
victims? Example, like maybe a shelter or a staff, like, or how your funding um, is allocated to?
Yeah, so ATASK has multiple programs. The primary one is called Community Based Services, and that's where we have language matched advocates um, that work very closely with our clients, right? So we have several Chinese advocates, Vietnamese advocates, South Asian advocates, Cambodian advocates. We also have language access program, client navigators, and they add the language capacity to our programs. We also have an emergency shelter, and that's at a confidential location, and it's a place where victims can go and be confident that they are in a safe location. Nobody knows where it is, and nobody will tell anybody where it is. So it's we take the confidentiality very seriously. We also have transitional housing programs. So that is where we have offsite emergency housing as well. And it's where the people go from the emergency shelter, then they go to the transitional housing programs. And from there, hopefully they are entering into their own permanent affordable housing situation. We have a legal program as well, and that is legal advocacy and representation. We have 2 attorneys that work at ATASK, and they review the cases, and we do a lot of immigration and family probate cases as well. We have English classes, ESOL classes, and we have a community outreach program as well. So in our community outreach program, we are going into the communities that are typically not reached, right? So when we are doing outreach, we're going into, communities and talking to the restaurant owners, the grocery owners, and that's where we're sending out our information. In certain communities, it's the church leaders that we need to talk to, right? So we'll go to the temples and churches just to make sure that people are able to get our information. We also have, we participate in many cultural festivals, right? The August Moon Festival, or, the water festivals, so Lunar New Year festivals. So those, especially during the summer, are all over the state. And we, make sure that we have tables there, and we make sure that we have staff that are able to speak to the community.
Wonderful. So we have another video that you shared with us with clients and talking about your testimonials. So let's watch that video.
My ex-husband would slap me on my face many times a day.
He hit me in the face, hand, and in the body too.
Sometimes I didn't know why he slapped me.
He hold my hand too tight, and he
He was there.
I say no. I'm tired.
The emotions he was playing was with my body, so I really did not. I don't deserve that,
It's very hard to make a decision like leave the person who is my son's father, leave the person I got married. But I remember one day when I started to have some small argument. After he left, maybe like 5 minutes later, I felt my son start to breathe. He started like a small animal, like he just breathed very strong. But before, he just almost like a dying animal. He didn't make any noise.
When my daughter was 1.5, during that whole year, my daughter seldom, no cry, did not cry at all. Very seldom talk.
At that moment, I think I can leave this situation.
I told William, I really want to call the police, but I don't speak English. I'm scared and I don't know how to do it.
Not having anybody, family, it was tough. There was a home visit nurse who used to come in when I shared my situation. Then she said, okay, there is a organization who has a community-based advocacy.
So I often tell ATASK, and ATASK call me and get everything for me.
If someone can speak Mandarin with me, it reminds me my home.
There are several staffs who speak different languages.
I speak Vietnamese.
There should be a person who speaks Nepali, because I'm from Nepal.
And he speaks Vietnamese too.
The advocate bring me come to the shelter.
ATASK gave us food, gave us clothes, and especially gave us this safe place to live.
I was pregnant and he born in the shelter.
After everything done, I feel very released.
I feel very safe and very warm.
I'm driving, I'm walking. Just a daughter now, she could go, and she goes school.
At the other house, there are 2 people fight a lot, and here there's no people that fights.
I go everywhere. I like it.
I think we all need to cry. We all need to cry.
We live together. We always care each other.
Mr. Fox.
I feel so accomplished that I made the right decision for her.
Very appreciative.
When I left ATASK shelter, I brought a small piece of cloth with me, and it's very touching for me. It says, "Love is not abuse."
So after watching this video, I really felt their pain, and then the fear and the language barrier also, and then how ATASK truly helped the emergency situations. So I really thank you for your work advocating for especially or particularly Asian women, which ATASK is one of the only organization in Massachusetts. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
So, Christina, we are running out of time for our interview today, but we really appreciate you coming to around Foxborough and telling us about your important work, and then especially really helping Asian domestic violence victims. And I really appreciate your work.
Thank you so much again for having me on your show. It's really critical for us to get the word out, for people to know about ATASK and the work we do, because you never know who you're going to come across that might need our services.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. My name is Julie Love. I'm your host, and we are at Foxboro Cable Access around Foxborough. Our executive director is Michael Weber. Our director is Paul Beck. Our website is fcatv.org. You can click on video on demand and go to Around Foxborough and watch all of our episodes. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day.